Come on, don't just stand there. Let's start eating, huh? There's only one chair left. Did you two from that burger place think you were going to sit at the same table as us? If you did, it would make fine food seem cheap, wouldn't it? We've arranged for you to sit separately. You get the seats in the garden. That's a luxury for you, isn't it? I hope you appreciate it. But since it went over budget, here's your table. Here are some cardboard and paper cups. My sister-in-law, with a smirk, brought over some cardboard from the edge of the living room. It had a section cut out in a circle with a paper cup fitted in it. It looks like she kindly made a drink holder. My mother-in-law's birthday party is held every year, and this year my mother was invited. However, it turned into a scheme to make me feel uncomfortable, involving my mother as well. If there's anything you want to eat, just tell me. I'll hand it to you through the window. Please enjoy your day today, my sister-in-law said, seeing my mother puzzled. She thrust the cardboard at her and looked at my face, clearly amused by my reaction. Shall we go? My mother slowly placed the cardboard on the floor, and we left my husband's family home. I'm really sorry. I'll cut ties with those people from now on, I said. As soon as we left, the front door burst open, and my husband came out, apologizing deeply to my mother. It's okay. Don't worry about it, she replied. I wondered what was okay. I felt odd that my husband was apologizing and couldn't shake the annoyance. However, without me doing anything, my in-laws received their comeuppance for treating my mother so poorly, leading to a major disaster. My name is Sarah. I am 26 years old and work in an office. Newly married, my husband Max is in sales. Our meeting was through a common friend, nothing extraordinary. If I had to force a sense of fate into our marriage, it would be that we are from the same hometown and attended the same schools. But my husband is 2 years older, and we had no acquaintance at all. Therefore, we have always lived in our hometown, but only met as adults. From the outside, we might seem like any ordinary couple. However, this ordinary life feels like a happy life to me, even if everything isn't perfect. I am typically troubled by my relationship with my in-laws. It started from the first meeting with them. I run a restaurant, but I am 55 years old, and it's time to think about retiring. Oh, a restaurant. That's impressive. It's just a small burger place, actually. Burgers today are nothing like what we ate as kids. Back then, they were simple, but now there are many options. Really? That's interesting. Yes, there are things like burger bars. It's a completely different image now. We don't serve fancy stuff at our place, just simple ones that are popular. Also, I help out at other shops, so it's a casual operation. Open sometimes and not others. I take over the shop on weekends when I'm off work. You seem very busy. My mom's conversation about running a food business caught the interest of my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and the conversation got lively. My husband and father seemed a bit out of place, but the atmosphere was generally good. The conversation between my mother and the in-laws was lively because they shared the common ground of being business owners. You run a printing company, right? That's much more impressive than me. No, our company is just a small rural business. Nowadays, with online advertising and home printing, it's tough competing against cheap online printers. But our company is old and well established. We get a lot of business from local restaurants and companies, particularly orders from popular restaurants for flyers, coupons, and business cards. My daughter, who's not here today, works on creating and managing websites for us. Websites are essential for restaurants, right? Yes, so we've been really supported by the food business even in our website operations. When the conversation shifted to the printing business, I found it hard to join in, like my husband and father. But since the atmosphere was lively, I pretended to understand and nodded along as I listened to the conversation between my mother and my in-laws. The initial meeting with the parents went without any issues, and I felt relieved, thinking that I could establish a good relationship with my in-laws. However, on the way back, I was troubled by a question and asked my husband, "Why did you say before the meeting not to mind whatever your parents might say?" "Because they have unique personalities. They seemed nice today, but it's usually not like that. You'll understand in time, just be cautious." My husband looked at me with a worried expression, not understanding his words or his expression. I gave him a puzzled look. I thought the in-laws might be strict with family, and the impression they make on me and my husband is different. At that moment, I concluded that, but soon I would come to understand the meaning behind my husband's words and expressions. The following Sunday, I was minding the shop because my mother had errands and my in-laws came by. "You're here." "Yes, but this is the shop." My mother-in-law looked at the sign and menu in front of the shop as if they were something dirty. It seemed quite different from what she had imagined. Shocking, isn't it, to think there's a shop in a garage in the middle of a residential area? Yes, I was shocked by how shabby it looks. You mentioned something about a bar and all, so I thought it was a fancy place, but it looks like a shanty. I think it was you and not my mother who talked about bars and such. Is your mom not here?" "She's out on another job." "You mentioned she helps out at other shops, so I thought there was a branch or something, but apparently not. She must be working part-time because the shop doesn't make enough, huh? No way customers would come to a place like this." "It's not exactly like that, but I guess it's understandable to think that way. In reality, my mother's shop didn't cost much, and half of it was DIY'd by my father as an amateur, so it looks like a homemade warehouse. But the taste of my mother's shop is good, so the appearance doesn't matter. I'll make a burger now. Try it with our proud mayonnaise." I was thoroughly trained by my mother in making them, so while my other cooking is at a housewife's level, I consider my burger to be professional. "Please, it's definitely delicious. Give it a try." "What is this?" "It's really just mayonnaise. Is this the modern burger I've heard about?" "It looks just like mayonnaise, but actually, there's a twist to it. I can imagine the taste without eating, so I don't need it." My in-laws threw the burger in the trash bin in front of the shop. I was so shocked by the scene that I couldn't close my mouth or find words to speak. "I've figured out what kind of people you all are. The marriage is between you and Max, so I won't interfere, but don't bring your poverty to us." While I was frozen in shock, my in-laws left. I looked into the trash bin and saw the burger, feeling more sad than angry. That evening, I told my husband what his parents had done. "I'm really sorry. I'll talk to them. You see what I meant, right? Somehow my mom and dad just say what they think directly. Plus, they have this weird pride about being business owners with no consideration for others. So that's why they ended up talking about being poor and care too much about money and appearances. Actually, my sister is the same type, and it was the cause for her divorce." "Did she keep calling her husband poor?" "No, it's the other way around. He was an engineer making good money, but Mom, Dad, and sister kept talking about money too much, and he got fed up. My husband bowed his head as if he had done something wrong, making me feel guilty for bringing it up. It seems the compatibility between my in-laws and my mother is not good. My mother doesn't care much about appearances or money, so it's hard to predict what the in-laws might criticize right before the wedding. I became anxious about whether I could build a good relationship with them. My husband scolded his parents for throwing away the burger, but he had done so before with no improvement in their behavior. It seemed best not to expect any change. He suggested we keep our distance from his family, meeting only once a year, and that he should visit alone as much as possible. I wanted to build a good relationship with my in-laws, but rushing things usually doesn't end well. I decided to take my husband's advice. Despite some hiccups, we managed to get married without significant issues. Our married life is going smoothly, and I am happy. However, becoming a daughter-in-law after getting married seemed to invite new problems. 3 months after the wedding, during our happy newlywed life, I received a call from my sister-in-law. "Mom's birthday is coming up soon." Oh, is it? We have this tradition of celebrating Mom's birthday every year. Could you handle the preparations? Me? Until now, I was the one doing it, but now that you're Max's wife, you're the lowest in the family hierarchy, right? So I thought I'd pass the baton to you. Her words caught me off guard, but I saw it as an opportunity. My husband had said that meeting his family once a year was enough, but I wanted to build a relationship with them. Preparing for my mother-in-law's birthday party could be a good opportunity. Okay, I'll handle it. Great, I'm counting on you for the future. Such small efforts are important in building good relationships. I smiled, imagining a bright future, but I soon regretted impulsively agreeing to prepare for the birthday party. What is this? Are these dishes homemade? You really are so poor, aren't you? This salad has salmon on it. This must be the best a poor person can think of, right? This cake is homemade too. If you're going to put in this much effort, you might as well buy one. It's easier, and a store-bought one would taste better. Why do such unnecessary things? Look, there's even a poor burger. It's not even worth looking at. My mother-in-law moved the plate of my proud burger from the edge of the table to the kitchen counter. I was relieved it wasn't thrown in the trash, but her hurtful comments stung. I couldn't afford to lose my temper, so I forced a strained smile. I'm sorry. It seems store-bought would have been better. I'll make sure to buy it next time. Please do that. Here, this is a gift for you. Isn't this a shawl? My mother-in-law's reaction seemed positive at first, but she quickly checked the brand logo. What? Only $160. I was expecting something better. Isn't $160 quite decent? I thought, but swallowed the retort. She carelessly placed the shawl next to the burger. The birthday party I had worked hard to prepare ended in shambles. The next day, I received a message from my mother-in-law. Though I had been criticized harshly, I thought it might be a thank you. Instead, it listed complaints such as homemade dishes being unacceptable and the gift being cheap. The message was so long, I had to scroll to see it all. After the complaints were photos of previous birthday parties with impressive-looking dishes, probably from their customers. A year later, as I thought about preparing for the birthday party again, I received another message from her. This time it listed dishes and restaurant names. It seemed more troublesome than making the food myself, but at least I didn't have to think for myself. I had somehow become compliant with my mother-in-law's demands. On the day of the second birthday party, my husband helped me pick up the food since some restaurants weren't available until the afternoon. Why did Max come to pick you up? Isn't that your job as a daughter-in-law? I was reprimanded as soon as I arrived. However, since I had prepared everything as instructed, there were no complaints during the meal. Is the gift only $600? That's stingy. Make it an even $1,000 next time. My senses had become numb to these comments. They didn't bother me as much anymore. I now understood what my husband meant when he said not to expect any improvement in his family's behavior and that it was better to comply to avoid stress. Yet, even for someone as numb as I had become, there were things I couldn't tolerate. Why is there a burger here? I didn't ask for this, did I? I really wanted everyone to try it. Today is about me. Don't put anything on the table that I didn't ask for. My mother-in-law grabbed the burger plate and threw it at me. The plate hit my chest, smearing my clothes with mayonnaise and oil, and the burger scattered across the floor. The last time a burger was thrown in the trash, I was too shocked to speak, but now I knew this was something my in-laws might do. I slammed the table and stood up, yelling at my mother-in-law. How could you do something like this? That's enough, Mom. That was too much. Apologize to Sarah, my husband demanded. It's just a plate of burger being wasted. No need to get mad, right? It's cheaper compared to other dishes. It's not about the cost. That's not why I'm upset. Oh, scary. Poor people really do have small hearts. We've taken what we came for. Shall we leave? My mother-in-law left the house, followed by my father-in-law and sister-in-law like subordinates. Having never yelled at someone before, I was left shaking and unable to move after she was gone. Then my husband touched my shoulder. "I'll clean up. You rest for a bit." Feeling reassured by his voice, I was able to move again. "It's okay. Instead, help them leave." I should just leave them. They can catch a taxi. "We can't do that, right? Just make sure you give them a firmer warning next time, okay?" As my husband went after his family, I started cleaning up, beginning with the burger on the floor. Another year passed, and it was time for my mother-in-law's birthday party again. This year, I wouldn't have to prepare or attend. My mother-in-law was upset that I had yelled, and I was told not to show up at the family home, even for Christmas. Instead of building a good relationship, things had gotten worse. But this year, I couldn't have prepared for the birthday party even if I wanted to, because I had given birth to a daughter. Looking at my daughter's smiling and sleeping face, I could forget all the unpleasant things in an instant, or so I thought, but my in-laws seemed to have a power beyond my imagination. One day, after a long silence, I received a message from my mother-in-law. Wondering what it was, I checked the message. It turned out to be a notice about the birthday party this year. Since I couldn't prepare, my sister-in-law would be handling it at the family home. Moreover, they wanted my mother to come along this year. They also asked us to bring the burger we hadn't eaten before. I was worried because they had told us not to come for Christmas, but perhaps the birth of my daughter had softened my in-laws a bit. I was delighted and immediately contacted my mother. On the day of the third birthday party, my husband, daughter, my mother, and I headed to the in-laws' house. "Welcome. Thank you for coming. Here, I brought the burger you asked for." "Thank you. Please come this way." We were led to the living room by my mother-in-law. Entering the room, an array of lavish dishes spread across the table caught our eyes. However, my mother's expression clouded slightly upon seeing the food. "I also bought some burgers. Look, isn't it nice? This one uses hollandaise sauce. This one is moray sauce with cheese and egg yolk, and this vibrant green one is charred sauce. This is orange mustard. Let's also lay out your simple mayonnaise. It's a good foil. These poor burgers are not for eating, but more suited as decorations. Maybe you should try serving nicer ones like this at your place, too. That is, if you can make them." Seeing the burger, my mother's expression remained clouded. If it meant making my mother feel this way, we shouldn't have come. My mother-in-law probably involved my mother just to make me regret it. "Come on, don't just stand there. Let's start eating." I clenched my teeth as I moved toward the table. My mother-in-law and father-in-law sat down, and my sister-in-law took her seat. I noticed something. There was only one chair left. "Of course, that's for Max. Did you two from that poor shop think you were going to sit at the same table with us? If you did, it would make the nice food seem cheap, wouldn't it? Your seats are prepared separately." Unable to hold back her laughter, my mother-in-law pointed outside the window with a grin. My mother and I looked where she pointed and saw outdoor chairs like those seen at a discount store. "The two poor folks get the garden seats. Look, those are $10 items. Such luxury for you, isn't it? I hope you like it. But since it went over budget, this is your table. Here are some cardboard and paper cups." My sister-in-law, grinning, brought over some cardboard from the edge of the living room. The cardboard had a part cut out in a circle, fitting the paper cups. It seems she kindly made a drink holder. "If there's anything you want to eat, just tell me. I'll serve it on a plate and pass it through the window. Please enjoy your time today." My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started laughing out loud, and their laughter drew my father-in-law into it as well. My sister-in-law, seeing my confused mother, forcefully handed her the cardboard and looked at my face, clearly amused by my reaction. "Shall we go?" "Yes," my mother said, slowly placing the cardboard on the floor, and we left the in-laws' home. As we exited, I heard my husband yelling from inside. Never come back to this house again. Don't contact us anymore." Startled by his voice, the baby in my arms began to cry. As I comforted her, the front door burst open and my husband came out. "I'm really sorry. I'll cut ties with those people from now on." He apologized deeply to my mother. "It's okay. Don't worry about it." "What's okay?" I wondered. It seemed odd to me that my husband was apologizing, but without me doing anything. My in-laws received retribution for their terrible treatment of my mother, leading to a major disaster a month later. Today is Sunday, and since my husband had plans, he went out alone. I went to my mother's shop. My dad was off from work, so he was taking care of my daughter at home. My mom and I were enjoying a relaxed time serving the occasional customers that came in. Then an unwelcome guest arrived. "Hey, what's going on here?" My mother-in-law suddenly yelled at my mother, who stood there, confused, with her mouth agape. "What's going on all of a sudden?" "Our printing company is losing orders one after another. We're even being told that people are switching to other companies for their websites. What does that have to do with us?" Don't play dumb. When I asked the stores why they stopped ordering from us, they said it's because we treated you terribly. Are you spreading rumors about us? We didn't spread anything like that. I suddenly remembered something. It might have been me who caused this situation. Maybe it was that time when I went to that bar in front of the station because of my mom's main business. Oh, right, we ended up having lunch there because they were open during the day. I chatted with the owner and mentioned the cardboard table incident. I see, so that was the trigger. Hey, don't just agree among yourselves. Explain it so I can understand. My mother-in-law seemed frantic and irate. Given the situation, my family's company must be in serious trouble. Since I triggered this, I owed them an explanation. My mom's main business isn't running a burger shop. She's a freelance food service consultant. She helps with launching new eateries, developing new menus, optimizing staff training, and revising costs and advertising strategies for management and support. You name it, she handles it. What are you talking about? If she's that skilled, why would she run a shop out of a garage in a residential area? Fix your own shop first. My mom deliberately chose to run her shop here. She used to run a high-end creative cuisine restaurant that was reservation only with just 3 seats, offering a chef's choice course menu. It was extremely popular, and at its peak, reservations were booked 6 months in advance. Is she such a skilled chef? Yes, she was. That's why people kept coming to her for advice on cooking and management. Because she's generous with her advice, it led her to start food consulting. Right, exactly. She ran the shop by herself and, feeling physically limited after turning 50, decided to stop and fully focus on food consulting. By the way, the popular dishes proudly displayed at the birthday party last month were all from eateries she was involved with professionally. Being a pro, she can usually tell which restaurant something is from just by looking. That unique burger caught her attention, right? Yes, it was easy to tell because the wrapper had the restaurant's name on it. That owner tends to chase after fame, often at the expense of flavor. I went with her to talk to that owner and accidentally mentioned the birthday party. I remember the owner was angry. That's like insulting a master to them. Since the food service industry is closely knit and many owners have wide networks, he must have spread the word. Mom is revered like a goddess by the popular eateries around here, so the word spread fast. Why are you running a shop here? It's also my office. Why burgers? Because I love burgers. The local people enjoy it too. It's not a profit-driven business. Realizing my mom's significant influence in making eateries successful, my mother-in-law's energy seemed to drain away. She's so focused on appearances, it's no surprise she missed it. Please help us. Us, huh? Please help. We've lost an unbelievable amount of orders in just 1 month. If it continues at this rate, we can't survive. So please convince everyone to order from us again. Wasn't it that your company stayed afloat because it was frequently used by local businesses and eateries? Why did the locals prefer your company over cheaper online printing? Maybe because I've been advising people to maintain local connections. I see. They were using it for the local business network, but if online printing is cheaper, switching to save on expenses makes sense. There's no need to be conscious of maintaining ties with such a company, right? Wait, I apologize. Please convince them. You can persuade everyone, right? My mom began to ponder, her face troubled. The next words could seal the fate of my in-laws. I was almost excited to hear what would come out while my mother-in-law looked at my mother with a pleading expression. In this day and age, cutting costs is crucial. If there's room in the budget, it's fine to prioritize connections, but first we must survive. My mother-in-law was knocked out, realizing she wouldn't get help. She collapsed to her knees. I delivered the final blow. Since my husband said he's cutting ties with you, could you please not come here anymore? Can I have one burger before I leave? I think someone like you wouldn't enjoy our poor burger. It's better if you didn't, I replied, pushing her away. With shaky legs, my mother-in-law left. That night, I told my husband about her visit. He replied with a laugh. That's good. If she comes again, just turn her away. Afterward, the family printing business saw a significant drop in revenue, much more than anticipated. The story of how my mother was mistreated not only spread among eateries, but also to retailers like supermarkets that these eateries use. The bad reputation spread, and even businesses and shops that didn't know my mother stopped using the family's printing services. It wasn't immediate bankruptcy, but they were certainly on the path to it. I asked my husband about what happens to a business when it goes bankrupt, as I pictured a president burdened with huge debts. What happens if a company goes bankrupt? I have this image of a president being burdened with huge debts. I'm not too sure, but that could happen if the president co-signed the loans. If not, then the debts are cleared through bankruptcy proceedings, but all assets are liquidated to pay what can be paid back. After it's all over, they end up with nothing. I'm not sure if Dad co-signed, though they did take loans. Either way, bankruptcy is hell. I don't quite understand, but it seems that if the company goes bankrupt, they could end up deeply in debt, or, at the very least, with no money at all. My in-laws are just over 60. Can they really live out their golden years with no money? My sister-in-law, just over 30, might still work, but can she earn enough from creating and managing websites to support her elderly parents? There seem to be many issues, but I have no intention of helping the in-laws who looked down on us and treated us horribly. My husband feels the same. We think it's best if our family continues to support each other. We've returned to our simple, happy life. My husband works diligently, and I often take my daughter to my mother's shop while on parental leave. My mother, unchanged, happily makes burgers for the locals. I hope our ordinary, happy life continues just like this.